10 years since Mario Kart 8 came out on the Wii U, and boy, what a ride it's been. Not only did we get DLC for the original game, but we also got a port to the Switch, and then on top of that, even more DLC in the Booster Course Pass, meaning after all this time, Mario Kart 8 has 96 tracks under its belt. Obviously with so many tracks, there are bound to be some that are better than others, so with that being said, let's rank all 96 tracks from worst to best. Number 96, Dry Dry Desert. If any track in the game is infamous for being a bagging track, it's this one. But with the most recent update to the game, that aspect of the track is gone. So all we're really left with is this vast area of nothingness. It's not really fun to play or look at, making it completely forgettable when compared to most of the other tracks in the game. Number 95, Toad Circuit. I mean, come on. Why did we need this as part of the Booster Course Pass when there are so many other 3DS tracks to choose from? Daisy Hills, Shy Guy Bazaar, Wario Shipyard, heck even 3DS Mario Circuit would have been a better pick than this. The worst part isn't even the track itself, it's the plastic grass!
Beautiful!
Number 94, Ice Ice Outpost. Arguably the most forgettable track in all of the game. The theming of the track is nice, and I think the end with the split pass and anti-gravity is quite fun, but that's really all this track has going for it. Number 93, Excite Bike Arena. You're driving straight most of the time, and man, does getting hit by an item here really feel terrible. It's pretty much wraps the second you get hit by an item while you're airborne, as you fall straight down and often have to drive up a steep ramp while trying to accelerate to full speed again. Number 92, Tokyo Blur. Being a video game company based in Japan, you'd think Nintendo would want to better represent their country through this track, but no, it doesn't really have that Tokyo feel to it at all. The fact that there's a literal go-karting experience in Japan that lets you race in the street should have been enough of a reference point for Nintendo when coming up with a Tokyo-based city track, but we got this sleep aid instead. Number 91, Sunset Wilds. This track is pretty baseline with it being over before it began, and apparently it goes by so fast that the sun doesn't even set here. I mean, come on developers, the sunset gimmick is literally the whole point of the track. What were they thinking? Number 90, London Loop. Honestly, nothing about this track really stands out to me. It captures the London feel well, but besides that, it's not visually interesting or really fun to play. Number 89, Toad's Turnpike. It's really just an advanced version of Toad's Circuit, as it features moving traffic and a useless anti-gravity section that absolutely nobody uses. Also, are these drivers stupid? They're just circling the same road over and over again. Number 88, Rock Rock Mountain. I was actually really excited to see this track return to the game, but it's not as fun as I remembered it being. I would say 80% of this track involves you just gliding in the air, making it feel really slow. It also doesn't help that this can happen, which could ruin your entire race. Number 87, Berlin Byways. This track and London Loop are pretty much the same to me. I will say that the final lap is enough to set it apart from London Loop though, with the interesting use of the womps that you can trick off of for some strange reason. Number 86, Daisy Cruiser. While I love the idea of having a cruise ship track, and I hope that Mario Kart 9 revisits that idea, it's really dull and just a nothing burger at the end of the day. Number 85, Wii U Mario Circuit. This track is a really nice showcase of the anti-gravity mechanic, and although it is aesthetically basic, it's still a pretty fun track to play considering it is a beginner course in the game. I also really love how the track's layout is based on the 8 in the game's logo. Number 84, Baby Park. This is a track you either love or hate, and while I understand why those who love it, I lean towards the side of disliking it. I mean, who enjoys getting hit at random by items flying and bouncing off walls for 7 laps? It's just not my cup of tea, but I have to admit, it does offer something unique that the previous tracks fail to provide. Number 83, Cheap Cheap Beach. It's a nice cruise through a pleasant beach with little to do or worry about. Ironic how this comes right after Baby Park, which is the polar opposite of this. Number 82, Amsterdam Drift. Accompanied by a catchy tune and some nice visuals, it's a fairly good city track. There's no particular part of the track that really stands out, but when you average it all out with tracks like London Loop and Berlin Byways, it comes out on top. Number 81, Bone Dry Dunes. Of all the desert tracks in the game, this one does stand out visually, so I have to give it that, as the warm orange colors of the sand and sky really add the perception of heat to this course. Having the Ruins Cave be a giant dry Bowser's head is a really awesome detail too. Number 80, Snowland. There are definitely better snow-themed tracks that could have been added to this game in its place, and also just better snow-themed tracks that are already in the game. It's really simple in its layout, but it can also be quite fun, especially when you land that ultra shortcut right at the beginning of the track. Number 79, Shroom Ridge. It's superior to Toad's Turnpike, as it has a more interesting layout with some challenging turns, especially on 200cc. Even then, I can't help but think, why was this track picked over Mushroom Bridge? Number 78, DS Mario Circuit. It's fine. But again, this was picked over the likes of Luigi's Mansion, Desert Hills, Delfino Square, DK Pass, and Airship Fortress. Such a buzzkill track in retrospect. Number 77, Moonview Highway. While the music and visuals are top notch, the track itself isn't particularly riveting, and the numerous boost panels idea is done better in other tracks we'll be talking about later on. Number 76, Riverside Park. A short but sweet track with a nice view. I also love the overall golden tint to the track's atmosphere and the innovative use of the patuis that hold items you can use to your advantage. It just adds another way first place can dodge a blue shell, even though the odds of doing so are like 1 in a million. Number 75, Dolphin Shoals. Let's be honest, the best part of this track is the music. I mean, listen to that lick. Other than that, the rest of the track is fine. I'm just not a huge fan of the underwater portions, mainly because you can't hear that lick. Number 74, Mario Kart Stadium. For the first track in the entire game, it's solid. It introduces you to the anti-gravity mechanic, tight turns which require drifts, and of course a glider section at the end. The music is iconic, and the track being set in a stadium with pit crews and fans all over is really nice too. Number 73, Moo Moo Meadows. It's a pretty good returning track from Wii. There's quite a lot of opportunities for shortcuts, and while the track is short, you get everything you want out of it. Definitely a better pick than Moo Moo Farm, that's for sure. Number 72, Water Park. While I do feel like Nintendo could have done so much more with a water park track, I feel like they set a nice framework for what future water park themed tracks can look like. The best part of this track is the cameo to Super Mario 64, where the merry-go-round music plays when you sit in the Aqua Cup ride. Number 71, Yoshi Valley. The idea of this track is really special, but it really does lose a lot of its luster here. For one, you can see your placement, removing that level of suspense that was once there in Mario Kart 64. In addition, almost everybody goes for the same exact path, making this track's main idea feel kinda pointless. Number 70, Donut Plains 3. I like the added underwater section with the broken bridge and the handful of shortcuts you can take here, making this a pretty solid SNES retro track. Number 69, New York Minute. Now this is what Tokyo Blur should have been, just in Japan of course. You drive through iconic locations in New York City, such as Times Square and Central Park, and for one of the more simple city tracks, it's quite fun. Number 68, Daisy Circuit. I would have understood its inclusion had it been in one of the earlier waves, but the fact that this track was in the final wave of the Booster Course Pass is kinda disappointing. Come on, Toad's Factory is right there. Number 67, Los Angeles Laps. In terms of city tracks, it's in the middle of the pack, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not particularly memorable. Also, why did they remove the voices from the music? That was like the song's trademark feature. Number 66, Sky Garden. It's nice to look at, but pretty forgettable gameplay wise. On top of that, it plays almost nothing like it does in Mario Kart Super Circuit.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Number 65, Sherbet Land. This track is the snow equivalent to Dry Dry Desert, except there's a lot more to do here. Unlike the original version of this track, you can now race underwater, giving you a lot more choice when playing this course. And of course, you have the return of the skating Shy Guys and Freezies, which just complete this winter wonderland of a track. Number 64, Rosalina's Ice World. This track feels like a more compact version of Sherbet Land, squeezing in most of the action you get from that track into a shorter, more entertaining race here. Also, did anyone else notice that you can chill up here? No pun intended. Number 63, Toad Harbor. An all-around great early track in the game, hitting all the marks you want a track like this to hit. You have your anti-gravity section, you have your shortcuts, you have your diverging paths, and last-second comeback potential. Not to mention, you get a nice view of the Statue of Liberty. Wait, is that Peach? Number 62, GBA Mario Circuit. For as simple as it is in both layout and design, it's really fun to race on with 12 people. It's almost always going to be a close race, with players within seconds of each other, and that's why I adore it so much. Number 61, N64 Rainbow Road. This one hurts. I really want to put this track higher, but it's pretty hard to. With how linear this track is, it's really tough to maneuver your way up in placement, and there's literally zero shortcuts to take, making for a rather underwhelming race every time it's played. Number 60, DK Mountain. It feels over before it's even started. You blast up to the top of a giant mountain and make your way down with little to do during your descent. Let's just say, there's a better summit out there. Number 59, Grumble Volcano. With the lack of volcano tracks in Mario Kart, I really hope to see more like this. Not only does it look really pretty, it's a pretty fun time too, especially with the addition of glider ramps, which just feel like such a natural addition to this track. The track collapses on itself throughout the laps, opening up new shortcuts in lap 3 that you can't do in lap 1. I want to see more of this, and less of this, Nintendo. Number 58, Animal Crossing. This track epitomizes the Animal Crossing series perfectly, just in racetrack form. Just like Animal Crossing, which is a very laid-back gaming experience, this track is a soothing cruise through a nice town with pleasant music and visuals to back the gameplay up. The addition of 4 seasons also spices up the track every time you play it as well. Number 57, Paris Promenade. This track kicks off the Booster Course Pass really well, and for a track from the first wave, it looks pretty good to boot. It really sets the precedent for what a good city track should be, with how it features a different laps gimmick and how it captures the general essence of the location the track is set in really well. Number 56, Choco Mountain. I mean, it's Choco Mountain. It's a decent time. My only gripe with it is that they removed the fog in this version, which I found pretty weird considering the fog is present in Tour, which is a version of the track they pulled from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's not really that big of an issue, but it was still an important element of the track. Number 55, Mario Circuit 3. On the surface, this track is an extremely disappointing addition to the Booster Course Pass, as it's flat, aesthetically boring, and not as exciting as the other tracks that were excluded from the game. But if you look beyond that, it's actually quite fun. There's plenty of shortcuts that you can take and tons of turns that force you to be on your A game at all times. It's also really fun to time trial as well. Number 54, Twisted Mansion. I love how the theme of this track directly ties into the anti-gravity gimmick, with the Twisted Mansion name taking on a double meaning, being both twisty in the literal sense and in the wicked sense. It's both the layout of this track, which is twisty, and the fun scenery of the mansion that make this a thrill of a ride overall. Number 53, Royal Raceway. This is one of those tracks that are fun to play every once in a while they pop up in an online lobby, as it's fairly simple. Princess Peach upped her castle security since the last time we saw this track. Number 52, DK Summit. To me, this is easily superior to DK Mountain, as it's longer and offers a lot more to do throughout. You've got a lot of half pipes, moguls to trick off of, and even obstacles and surfboarding Shy Guys. Not to mention, the music is pretty stellar. Number 51, Sweet Sweet Canyon. This track is a real treat. Literally. Every aspect of this track screams decadence, from the gingerbread crowd to the ice cream trees and the wafer windmills. It feels like it took a lot of inspiration from Sugar Rush from Wreck-It Ralph, and if so, more power to the developers. This track is sweet. Just make sure none of the characters in the game are diabetics. I feel like even breathing in the air here would be life-threatening.
Oh my god!
Number 50, Romavanti. Sure, it's not the Coliseum I was hoping to race through, but it's fairly fun for a city track. It looks great and sounds great, and that's really the goal of most of these city tracks anyways. Number 49, Thwomp Ruins. Like Grumble Volcano, I'm a big fan of how Lap 2 and 3 offer you an extra path that Lap 1 doesn't in the glider ramp. I also love the idea of a ruin themed around the Thwomp enemy. It just makes so much sense. Number 48, Madrid Drive. There's a fair amount of attractions here to enjoy as you go through a train station, a museum, and a soccer stadium. Besides that, it's your average city track, and I guess the most average track in the entire game, as it is number 48 of 96. Number 47, Athens Dash. Of all the city tracks, this is the most unique, with it being the least modern of all the city tracks. It's surprisingly really fun to play as well, with all the variety there is to the scenery across laps. You drive past some ruins, through a tunnel with a swarm of bats, glide past a nice little town, and finish by dodging boulders on your climb towards the finish line. Number 46, Mute City. I'm not the biggest fan of tracks that deviate from the Mario universe, but even I can't deny that this track is a lot of fun to play. It's extremely fast paced and just an overall thrill to play through. There's not a moment of rest here, it's a mad dash all the way to the end. Number 45, Hyrule Circuit. Again, I'm not a supporter of the non-Mario based tracks, but this track is really well designed. The highlight of this track are the 3 spin boost pillars, which can activate a boost ramp if touched back to back, adding a special feature unique to only this track. Number 44, TikTok Clock. I know a lot of people have this track near the top of their lists, but I don't think it's that great. Sure, it's fun, and I do like how the clock hand moves throughout laps, but at the end of the day, there's far more interesting tracks out there. So it's time to get to them. Get it? Time and TikTok Clock? Okay, I'm sorry. Next, number 43, Electrodrome. With a fun beat and atmosphere, this level is certainly one of the most iconic from Mario Kart 8. I love the diverging paths that are present here with the anti-gravity section and the overwhelming influence music has on this track. Who wouldn't want to party here? Number 42, Sky High Sundae. Sweet Sweet Canyon's long-lost cousin finally came to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it's pretty fun. I know you're pretty much airborne the entire time, but unlike tracks like Excitebike, those airborne sections feel a lot more fun because you're in anti-gravity mode. Also, is it just me, or does this track look like it was ripped straight out of Fall Guys? Number 41, Koopa Cape. I mean, it's Koopa Cape! It plays exactly like it does in Mario Kart Wii, except there's an anti-gravity section which fits in perfectly with the underwater section. All in all, a great selection from Wii for this game. Number 40, Coconut Mall. This iconic Mario Kart track making its appearance in this game was all but inevitable, and I'm so glad it did. While I do wish the parked cars at the end of the track were a bit more difficult to avoid, I'm glad they updated the game to fix it to some extent. Number 39, Music Park. Another track that people seem to love. It's certainly growing on me, as I do love the presence of music here, especially when you drive over an instrument and it plays that sound. It's so ingenious, and I do get the hype. Number 38, Calamari Desert. Of all the Mario Kart tracks to receive the different laps treatment a la the Tour City tracks, I feel like this track was the best suit. You can finally drive on the railway, making every N64 kid's dreams come true. Number 37, Boo Lake. Although I would have preferred to see Banshee Boardwalk in its place, this track is actually quite a satisfying inclusion to the Booster Course Pass, all things considered. The section with the broken pier that's sunk into the water makes for a fun underwater and anti-gravity section as well, with some great comeback potential right at the end to keep some much needed suspense in the track. Number 36, Shy Guy Falls. On top of some beautiful visuals, you get to race down a waterfall. I mean, how cool is that? You also got to admire the hardworking Shy Guys who sing to the music of the track as well. Number 35, SNES Rainbow Road. This track is fun in a similar manner to Boo Lake. It's very simple, but also a lot of fun to play on 200cc, with all the 90-degree turns that send you plummeting to your doom. I never thought I'd be ranking SNES Rainbow Road higher than N64 Rainbow Road, but I guess here we are. Number 34, Peach Gardens. Similar to Calamari Desert, which received the different routes treatment, Peach Garden has it the same way. This track plays as it does in Mario Kart DS up until the final lap, which has you racing in reverse. I just feel as if this is a really nice way to spice things up with these retro tracks, giving them this brand new feel, and I wouldn't mind if they had done this with even more retro tracks that featured in this game. Number 33, Neo Bowser City. Why hasn't this location been visited in a mainline Mario game? On the topic of the track though, it's really fun to play, especially on 200cc when you have to hit the brakes hard on those slippery turns near the end. Number 32, Merry Mountain. Everything about this track screams Christmas, as it should. You've got your Christmas village, fitted with candy cane streetlights, a flying sleigh train, and giant presents all throughout the mountain itself. The first thing I think about whenever I think of this track is it being a nice winter night, you sitting by the fireplace and enjoying this track on your Switch while drinking some eggnog, or hot chocolate if eggnog isn't your thing, by the Christmas tree. Now that's peak Mario Kart. Number 31, Bowser Castle 3. Now this is how you do an SNES remake. No shade to Mario Circuit 3, as it's not terrible, but that track pales in comparison both visually and gameplay wise to this one. This doesn't even feel like an SNES track anymore with how much it's been changed, with the addition of anti-gravity and the ability to drive on the walls. It's blown up a lot since we last saw it on the SNES. Number 30, Yoshi Circuit. I love that this track is in the shape of a Yoshi, which shockingly makes for a really fun track layout. Not only that, but the music and visuals are outstanding, making this the best circuit track in the game by a mile. Number 29, Cheeseland. This track has been hated a lot, mostly due to it being a bagging track, but with the most recent update, that's no longer an issue anymore. The track is really fun with the holes you can trick off of and plenty of shortcuts to take, giving you tons of opportunities to work your way up the pack. Number 28, Wario's Gold Mine. This track works so well in this game, with the anti-gravity lending itself to really enhancing this track. Instead of the minecarts knocking you off the track like in Mario Kart Wii, they're used here as moving spin boost pillars. Like Shy Guy Falls, the working Shy Guys also sing as well, which is an added detail I really appreciate. Number 27, Mushroom Gorge. I'm so glad this track made it to the Booster Course Pass, as it's an absolute staple for Mario Kart Wii. Well, pretty much every track from Mario Kart Wii is iconic, but this is near the top of legendary tracks from that game. The mushrooms are a lot of fun to bounce off of, and that last cut that you can make at the end provides a lot of opportunities to stage a last second comeback, which is always nice. Number 26, Maple Treeway. The autumn theme looks gorgeous in this game, and it plays just as well as it did in both Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 7. I do wish they brought the net at the end back instead of the glider ramp, but that doesn't take away from how great the rest of the track is. Number 25, Waluigi Stadium. It's just a grand old time, making full use of the half pipes and dirt track aesthetic, even if it is inferior to his buddy's stadium. Number 24, MK8 Rainbow Road. You know, as a track on its own, it's pretty good, but the major problem with it is that it is a Rainbow Road. It is supposed to be this grand finale style track, and it doesn't feel as grand as past Rainbow Roads in their games did. It's really unfortunate because there's so much they could have done with the anti-gravity mechanic and the Rainbow Road theme, but on the other hand, the track is still good on its own right, so it still ranks this high. Number 23, MK8 Bowser's Castle. Unlike MK8's Rainbow Road, the Bowser Castle of this game still possesses that sense of grandeur that most of the other Bowser Castle tracks have. The giant Bowser statue made out of rocks is a great addition to the course, and the swinging spike balls and rotating fire bars make for great obstacles as well. Number 22, Waluigi Pinball. This track is a Mario Kart legend. The concept of the track is wacky, which I like, But the biggest problem is that this track doesn't implement the anti-gravity mechanic at all when it so obviously should have. Besides that though, it's Waluigi Pinball. You know it's always going to be a great time. Number 21, Piranha Plant Slide. I love how this track feels like an actual underground level in a Mario game, as you start above ground, enter a warp pipe, and then have to dodge piranha plants and Goombas on your way to the flagpole at the end. It's a really cool concept that's all brought together with parts of the underground theme from Super Mario Bros. Being used in the music of this track. Number 20, Ninja Hideaway. With a catchy beat and beautiful scenery, this track is a phenomenal pull from Tour. I love all the different shortcuts you can take as you feel like a genuine ninja cutting in front of your opponents out of nowhere, making this track really live up to its name. Number 19, Yoshi's Island. Just like Animal Crossing, which is a perfect homage to its series, this track is the same, as it's so faithful to the Yoshi's Island series, through the visuals of the track, the enemies, the Yoshi coins, and the unique results music that this track has. Number 18, Vancouver Velocity. This is the first of the top tier Tour City tracks we'll be talking about. The anti-gravity section is executed perfectly here, and man does this track look so good in HD. And obviously, you can't have a track based in Canada without a hockey arena, eh? Number 17, Sydney Sprint. This track's theme is arguably one of the most catchy in the entire game, and it's really fun to boot. Even though no particular location or site stands out to me when I play this track, the amount of fun to be had here covers any con this track might have. Number 16, Bangkok Rush. Whether it's racing through a street market, under a SkyTrain station, or even bouncing on top of a bunch of tents, this track hits all the right notes I would be looking for in a city track. It's visually appealing, depicts its city well, and most importantly, it's fun to play. Number 15, Singapore Speedway. This is undoubtedly the most beautiful city track in the game, and it helps that it plays so well too. My favorite part of the track is driving on top of Marina Bay Sands. It's an overall top tier track. Number 14, Squeaky Clean Sprint. A track themed around a bathroom is so ridiculous, but it also works so well. On top of being really creative and fun to play, I love all the little Easter eggs scattered around the track that really give it that extra oomph. Number 13, Piranha Plant Cove. This might be the best looking track in all of the Booster Course Pass, and is really where you can see how far the Booster Course Pass has evolved. From the plasticky grass of Toad Circuit in Wave 1, to the detailed terrain of this track in Wave 6, which nearly matches the visual quality of those in the base game. In addition, the layout is a lot of fun, as every lap offers something new. Number 12, Wee Rainbow Road. The official final track of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it plays pretty much how you would expect it to play. I do wish they didn't add those extra guardrails just to keep that extra challenge, but I do understand it. I love how the developers stayed faithful to even the most minute of details from the original, with you burning up if you fall off the track. It's little details like these, plus the magnificence of the track itself, that make everybody love it so much. Number 11, DK Jungle. This track is an excellent tribute to the Donkey Kong Country series, with all sorts of references to the series being sprinkled throughout the track. I also love the remix of the Donkey Kong Country theme, which has never sounded better. Of course, all of these amazing elements in combination with this incredibly fun layout make it a stellar retro track addition to this game. Number 10, 3DS Rainbow Road. This is, in my opinion, the best Rainbow Road in this game, and arguably the best Rainbow Road in Mario Kart history. It feels like the true grand finale to end off this game. No offense to Wii Rainbow Road. Unlike N64 Rainbow Road, which doesn't let you maneuver, this track's lengthiness gives everybody plenty of time to make a comeback, and that's obviously a great thing. I love how you're not just driving on a Rainbow Road, but also Saturn's rings and the moon itself. It has its own unique flavor to it that none of the other Rainbow Roads carry, and for that, it tops them all. Number 9, Cloud Top Cruise. The modern day Sky Garden, which is way better than the original. Like Piranha Plant Slide, I love how this track references a key element of the Super Mario Bros. Series in the Beanstalks, and also references the Super Mario Galaxy series through the use of Gusty Garden Galaxy's theme being used in this track's music. The ending of the track is also incredibly creative, as you enter a storm and have to avoid lightning striking you, while trying to pick the right path with a dash panel. Number 8, Wario Stadium. This might be my most outlandish pick to be this high on the list, but Wario Stadium is a seriously underrated track. It's like what Excitebike wants to be, but can't, because unlike that track, Wario Stadium isn't just an oval where you're driving straight 95% of the time. There are sharp turns, an underwater section, and the addition of spinning fire bars to make you extra cautious of your jumps. And what's more Wario than to have a giant statue of him in his own stadium? Number 7. Super Bell Subway. The graffiti art in the tunnel section of the track really bring this track to life, and I really like how this track interconnects all of the other courses in the game by featuring them on the subway rail map. The layout may be on the simpler side of things, but there's plenty of different paths in the tunnel. Plus, the subway trains add a needed layer of complexity to the race, and they even nod the underground theme from the Super Mario Bros. Series in this track's tunnel section. Number 6. Dragon Driftway. Genius is the one word I would use to describe this track. Using a rather obscure Mario boss from Super Mario Galaxy 2 as the main focus of this course is extremely creative, having you enter his mouth and taking on tons of twists and turns in this track. Obviously, with a track based on an enemy that's this flexible, the anti-gravity section really helps make it all work. Number 5. Ribbon Road. I really love what they did here, having this track take place in a child's bedroom. It gives major Toy Story vibes, and I'm all here for that. This track is now divided into 3 sections, a Peach side, a Bowser side, and a Rosalina side, with the Rosalina side being my favorite as the road is really wavy, giving this track an extra challenge. Like Bowser Castle 3, the amount of changes to this track reinvent it in a new way to the point it feels like a new track in the game, and those are some of the retro tracks I enjoy the most. Number 4. Sunshine Airport. I love airports and I love Mario Kart, so this is just a perfect combination. The track plays like the entire airport process does, with you starting in the airport, boarding, taking off, flying in the air, and then landing back at the airport. It's really clever when you think about it. Number 3. Big Blue. An absolute blast, especially on 200cc. It's also the home of the best shortcut in the entire game. Yeah, it speaks for itself. There is never a dull moment here, as it's a full-blown adrenaline rush to the finish line. And I mean the rush part in the most literal sense. Number 2. Wild Woods. A combination of great aesthetics and a fun layout really helps place this track this high. The Shy Guy village that you can see as you hit the glider section looks incredible, and I hope the next 3D Mario game has us exploring something like it. And of course, the musicians at Nintendo weren't sleeping on the job with the music here either. Number 1. Mount Wario. Come on, this is the definitive best track in the game, and arguably the best track in Mario Kart history. You start literally jumping right into the action right away, making your way through a cave, a dam, a forest, and even a ski hill. It does so much in one track, and the music is undoubtedly the best in the game, as it intensifies across the 3 sections of the track. This track is the ultimate proof that Wario is the king of Mario Kart tracks.
I win! I win!
And there you have it. That's every track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe ranked against each other. Of course, everybody has their own preferences, and that's fine. No need to bash one another for it. That's the beauty of these rankings, is that each track is tailored to a unique individual's taste, which is why there's such a divide over tracks like Baby Park, and why I love a track like Cheese Land when others vehemently hate it. Once again, I want to thank each and every single one of you who watched this video all the way through, and if you did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing to help me make more videos similar to this. As always, thanks again, and never forget to Blabba-ing!